Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn, Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz, Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. When you think about who you really are, ask yourself this: what is the one thing that I can do that nobody else can do? It's a powerful question. We're going to talk about it right now in a very personal story. My name is Lynn Hinderaker, and this is WowBiz, Nebraska. Now I'm going to take you all the way back. I'm all the way back to 1989, 1990. That's quite a ways back, of course, but those were the years when the original value menu, Taco Bell's original value menu, was born and spread across the entire country. And I was spearheading that particular initiative. And it was a very exciting time, but of course it was also a grievous time. My wife and I had had problems with babies and all kinds of situations that were very complicated. My wife said, "I'd like you to take me from Los Angeles," where we were living at that time, back to Omaha, Nebraska. So my team, who had all worked extremely hard with me to launch and to spearhead and to popularize the original value menu, Taco Bell, of course. And so they had organized a very nice little party. And the party was set up at a kind of a restaurant bar at Manhattan Beach, which is kind of on the southern edge of LA, down by Orange County, and right on the beach, like I said before. And so it was a very nice kind of a situation. Everybody was saying goodbye and giving each other hugs and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm leaning against the bar there, and people are having margaritas all around me, and in walk these three executives. I'd never seen them before, and they were dressed in suits. They were wearing wingtips. I'll never forget that. And they slowly came across the room, and came right up to me directly and said, "Let's take a walk." I'd never seen these guys before, and I thought, this looks a little odd, but I wasn't going to resist it, of course. I think there was some sense of authority there, so I said, "Okay, all right, whatever you say." So we walked out of the kind of the back end of this restaurant bar together, right there on the beach, and we got down in the sand on the beach and started walking towards the Pacific Ocean, towards the waves. And nobody said anything. I swear I had no idea what was happening. And so I just kept on walking, and they just kept on walking. Nobody said a thing. We get about, oh my goodness, maybe 40 yards out into the beach area. And they suddenly stop, and they kind of circle me. And again, I had no idea what was going on. I hoped this wasn't going to be a negative situation, but I really didn't know. And suddenly one of them said, "Lynn, we've come all the way from New York, Purchase, New York, which is the headquarters for PepsiCo, you might know. We've come all the way from New York out here to Los Angeles to thank you for generating and spearheading the development of the very first value menu in the history of fast food." And I'm listening to them, and I didn't know that this was that they were going to be discussing. And they said, if you would have told us, if you would have called us, and this would have been at Lawton, Oklahoma, and Wichita Falls when the wet value menu was still being born, very infant. If you would have called us and said, "Well, we want to lower the cost of 6 items and come up with a new menu that are really low price," we would not have allowed you to do that, Lynn. We would not have allowed you to do that. But you didn't call us, and you did the right thing. And had you called us, we would have done the wrong thing. So you understood something that we did not understand, and we are here to thank you for that situation. You've generated over $1 billion for PepsiCo with the value menu the last 3.5 years. And again, we're very grateful for that. Now, we don't think you should leave Los Angeles This is another gentleman that's talking to me from the left shoulder. And he said, you're an innovative guy and you need to be out here in LA, but we understand that family and so on. And so now that you're going to go back to Nebraska, we suggest that you look for companies there that think they have their act together, like we did. We thought we had our act together, but you proved us wrong by the way that you did things. You hit the long ball way, way, way ahead of where we were thinking. So you look for companies that would swear that they already have it together, but they don't really have it together. And then, Lynn, you do what only you can do. Now, at that particular moment, I have to tell you, my knees, I'd figured out what was going on, of course, by now, and my knees were shaking. Now, I don't normally do that. That's not normal for me at all, but my knees were quivering when these gentlemen said these things to me. I knew at that moment that this was the pivotal moment in my entire adult career. This is when I knew that I had to keep going in a certain direction. And this is when I knew that I had not just a sense of who I was, clarity about my identity, but also a sense of purpose. And yes, I'm going to even tell you a sense of destiny. A sense of destiny. And so I want to challenge you right now, if you're watching WowBiz Nebraska, and share this with other people, your colleagues and so on, that we really need to have a moment, and it's time for all of us, hopefully it's not too late, to discover really what it is that we do that no one else can do. And when that happens, when you get to that point, whether it's directly told to you or indirectly implied or whatever, that's a breakthrough moment, see? That gives you a sense of clarity. When you get up every single morning, you have a cup of coffee and you start getting dressed, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I know why I'm here. I know what I'm doing right here. No matter what anybody says, distraction, this isn't working, that's not working, whatever it is, I know what it is that I can do that nobody else can do. That's right. And that's the purpose of being in business and finding out. It's a psychological thing and a very personal thing at the same time that you're talking to prospects and you're working at your desk and you're doing your procedures and having meetings and so on. But none of that is the least bit important compared to what I've just shared with you right now. Your identity and what you're here to do, what you're prepared to do no matter what. All right, so anyway, enough of that. I'm a lucky man in that this of course occurred years ago, decades ago, but it's been with me all the time. And every time I share it with somebody, and I don't do that a lot, but people say, that resonates with me. It resonates with me. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about business here in Nebraska and the various things that are happening. A lot of us are struck with uncertainty, right? We don't know what to do. We're not exactly sure. We're just going to keep on going. 67% of the business owners in our state are not really confident that they have the right strategy. They don't have another strategy. They can't think of any other way to add value or differentiate themselves. I mean, they basically know that that's what they should be trying to do, but they don't want to take any steps outside of where generally they've been the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They don't want to do that, and yet they realize that what they've been doing probably is going to become less and less important or valuable or strategic. So they are in trouble. They don't want you to know that. By the way, what they're really looking for, this is a powerful idea, and then we're going to move on. We'll have our promotional segment here and let you know who's sponsoring the show. But, many people like to talk about transformation. Business owners don't want to talk about transformation. People want to talk about innovation. Young people want to come to the state. They're looking for innovative things, companies, cultures. They want to innovate. Business owners are going, I don't want to innovate. right? I just want to do something a little bit different than we've been doing it. Just, just some kind of a little, that would enhance it a little bit, you know what I mean? We don't want to take any wild and crazy swings at the plate. We don't want to go out swinging. We want to bunt. That's what we want to do. If you're a baseball person, we just want to bunt and beat it out at first base. That's it. That's what we think is a good idea, and it's not a good idea. It's a very bad idea, but that is, in fact, what the mindset is. Well, we've been doing pretty good, kind of okay, so let's not get carried away now. Now, I'm going to show you a book here that has great power in the context of what I've just shared. It's called The Road to Reinvention. So I'm not talking transformation. I'm not talking innovation exactly. I'm talking about reinvention. Reinvention, rethinking, redesigning yourself. Who are you? What's your company all about? Let's reinvent ourselves. And by the way, with AI coming, right, it might not be a bad time to reinvent ourselves. It's a very exciting thing, and I'm going to talk a lot more in the future. And by the way, instead of the road to reinvention, I thought to myself, how about the river to reinvention? Because a river, when you step into a river, there's a sense of flow, right? There's a sense of movement. You kind of want to go with it. And it seems to make it easier to reinvent yourself if you're kind of fluidly moving forward. I just thought it was kind of a great metaphor. So again, thank you so much for checking out WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker here. And the show is brought to you by a very interesting niche company. A lot of people don't know about this company. It's called Charisma Coaching. By the way, it's spelled K-A-R-I-S-M-A. Charisma Coaching is responsible for this show that we have right here today with Nebraska. Now, here's what the deal is, right? We have a lot of people that admit, they say, well, I'm not charismatic. I know one person who's really a charismatic person. I'm not a charismatic person. But again, I want all the things that charismatic people get. I just don't know how to get there from here, and I'm not sure I can even do that. But I'm going to just share with you very briefly. This is a 6-month development program. A 6-month development program, and you learn how we start out with personality typing. So you need to find out if you're an extrovert or you're an introvert, whether you're a creative person or you're an analytical person, whether you use your left brain, use your right brain. So you get a really clear handle on who you are and how people like that respond to outside stimuli of one sort or another. So that's very interesting. And then we talk a little bit about purpose and destiny and how you envision yourself in the future. A lot of people, dwell in the past. Things don't go very well for me. Well, I've always struggled with this. I didn't do well last year on that. None of it. What really matters, of course, is how you envision yourself. This can unleash you and give you a new sense of possibility. And possibility is all we can ask for, not certainty. In fact, it's more interesting if it's possibility because you have more choices, and choices are absolutely critical. So then we go on to the next thing, which is speaking and moving around in a room and talking with people and kind of using body language so people see that you're opening. This is something we've learned recently when we talk to people in dating clubs and things like that. They say, well, how do I attract somebody of the opposite sex, etc.? Well, what I'm doing right now, this movement, this openness, I'm using my hands, of course, and this sends a signal. This person is open to new ideas, they'd be fun to chat with, all right? So there's one of those elements of charisma, and of course, leaning forward, right? So all this requires practice, and then we go on to public speaking. Let me tell you, if you want to accelerate your career, no matter what you're doing, if you're recruiting for a new job, whatever, it doesn't matter, get in front of people of all sorts and speak to groups of people. Public speaking is a dynamic way. It kind of tests your mettle and enables you to really project the person who you really are, what you really believe in, what you stand for, and that is truly magnetic. That is charismatic, ladies and gentlemen. So anybody can learn this. Anybody can learn how to be charismatic, how to enter a room and dominate the room immediately, how to understand what vibrations are and what energy really is. That's all available at your fingertips if you choose to enter the 6-month Charisma Coaching program. So once again, we're appreciative for their involvement, their financial support, charisma coaching, outstanding, and we appreciate their involvement with this particular show. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Charisma Coaching. And here we are back here at WowBiz, Nebraska. You know, I'd like to visit with you for a second about fusion. Fusion, all right? This is a very important word, and I'm going to share this with you because I have to tell you, I'm out in the car right now. I should have had it with me. It's a scraper for snow. We've had a little of that here in Omaha recently, but it's not a traditional scraper like we've all used before, plastic scraper. On the other end of the handle is a brush, kind of a stiff brush. So it makes perfect sense, right? You can brush off your windshield and the ice, you got the scraper, you got both of them. Now, I know this sounds very simplistic, but it's a great example of product fusion. Product fusion, two things coming together. They kind of have a synergistic relationship between those. So I just want to say that product fusion. Now I'm going to tell you this right here. You know what is fusion, by the way? It's the ability to see how one thing and another thing fit together. How they fit together. There's a pattern, and that always enables fusion to emerge as a strategy. Now, I'm going to give you a quick story. We're going to wrap up our show today. A gentleman named Colonel John Boyd, back in World War II, he was a crackerjack fighter pilot, and he was up in the air every single day fighting the Japanese, shooting down fighter pilots, from Japan. It was a very hairy, difficult, challenging, life-changing kind of experience. But he was really good. And he'd get down, he'd fall, and they called him Six-Pack Boyd because he'd get a pack of beer, six-pack of beer, every time he got up there and shot down the enemy. Well, anyway, he was renowned and very innovative guy. Well, anyway, so then he was asked to be a trainer in Washington, D.C., in the Pentagon area. So he was given this giant conference room, and all these young men, fighter pilots, all aspiring fighter pilots, would come into the room. And he would try to teach them how the pattern, the notion of he swerves here, then I can aim down here because I know he's going down there. So got him, right? So he's really brilliant in that way. So helping people see and anticipate patterns was the key idea. So here's what he did. And again, we'll be wrapping up our show with this last story about fusion, because fusion is the future. Product development and organizational development, pulling people together, coalitions, all of these fusion. So anyway, he breaks down, he's innovative, as I said before. He gets the hull of a motorboat, the front hull of it. And it's right there in the room, And then he gets a bicycle handle, the bicycle bars, and he gets those bicycle bars, believe it or not. He throws those on over there. And then he gets skis. He gets some skis, a whole set of skis. He even had some chocolate milk there nearby. So it was part of the whole skiing experience, but he had those over there. And had a whole bunch of these young men, and he challenged them to find the connection, the fusion, so to speak, how to fuse them together and come up with something. And believe it or not, they did. And that was how the very first snowmobile, believe it or not, was pulled together with the hull and the bicycle navigation, the bicycle bars, and the skis. And this is the very first snowmobile because of that exercise in that particular room on that day. And young fighters were like, wow, it blew my mind, because we realized that all these different things in our business world, absolutely the same. In our thinking process, absolutely the same. Fusion, connectivity, patterns. This is the future of business, just as it was the future of war with Colonel John Boyd. There is a power of three. Have you ever heard of that before? That the number three has unusual power, and when you're trying to learn something or remember something or whatever, that three seems to really work. Well, I've got 3 words times 2. I've got 2 different groups of 3 words each. They're both what I would call a mantra. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I don't care about that. Other people go, when I don't know what direction to go, it is really nice to have a mantra to help me clarify what I stand for and the choices that lie in front of me. So I'm going to give you 2 sets of mantras. Now, the first mantra is at the top of the Nebraska website. So you can see it right there. And here is the mantra. It's the 3 words that the Nebraska consulting team utilizes to kind of get going in a client interaction. And the first one is strategy, right? The second one is spirit, quite different. You don't actually hear consultants talk about that too much. Strategy, spirit. And then the third S word is significance. Significance. And this is a very interesting thing when you're sitting around and talking to somebody, say, well, how'd that product work out? Or, we've been selling this for a month now. What do you think? Is anybody enjoying it? Or is it special or being ignored? What is its significance? What is its contribution to our company insofar as our reputation and all that? So when I sit down in front of somebody and they say, well, what do you have? What are we talking about right now? I'll say strategy, spirit, and most interestingly, significance. Significance. Now, strategy, we all know, is how we go from here to there. There's a lot of different ways to do that. So it's very important to make the right choice there, whether it involves certain marketing things, or conventional PR, whatever it is, new talent, new people. That's going to be the strategy to move from this place to this place. So that's true. But the next word is very interesting, and that is spirit. I've had the opportunity to work with some great companies over the years. And once they see that I see them in a completely different approach. I see them as being big-time leaders, and they don't even think of themselves that way. And sooner or later, they kind of embrace that idea, and then we have task forces maybe and committees and people and do research and so on. And do you know what comes out of that? Energy. Energy comes out of that. And as a result of that, spirit. Spirit. Let's do it. Let's kick. We're together. High five. Spirit. And of course, significance, I've already mentioned, is there meaning behind what we're doing? Can we shake up the industry? Can we do something that's ever been done before? Some value that nobody else has even tried to claim? Is it significant? So those are the 3 S words, all right? Keep that in mind. I'm going to give you 3 R words. And they're good words too. I'm not sure which you'd prefer. These 3 R words are reinvention. I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the show. Reinvention. We all know what it means to reinvent. Oftentimes we have to redesign, kind of think about ourselves differently and do some different procedures, go into market segments, expand in different ways. Why are you doing that, Lynn? Why are we going through all this effort? We're reinventing ourselves. We're reinventing ourselves. We're going to stand for this. We're going to be all about this. Okay. The second R word is resilience. When you reinvent yourself, there is a little bit of chaos, a little bit of confusion. So there has to be, and some people get hurt and they're like, I don't know, he doesn't seem to like me anymore. You've got to pull that together, right? There's got to be resilience. Okay, I'm cool now. I'm with everything. I understand. And then finally, renewal, which means we kind of go down into a trough. We move things around. We come out. And then everybody says, I'm okay now. We're all right. We did that. We're okay. We're a new entity now. We've renewed ourselves. We started by reimagining what we're about, reinventing what we're all about. We acted on that idea. And then when it got a little tough, we focused on resilience. We want to make sure everybody's happy and they're enjoying themselves and they're doing something that they feel is good for them. There's renewal, then, is the very next thing. Now that means that you can, if you have the confidence, if you're renewal, you can step out and do something that nobody's ever had. Where'd they come up with that? Come on, these guys just fix cars. All of a sudden they're putting out a magazine. These guys over here are doing grills and furniture, and all of a sudden they're talking about the summer lifestyle. They're talking about people and emotions. Well, we thought they were over here, talking about, like I said, the grills and different things, tables and chairs, and all of a sudden they're talking about human beings, right? How exciting is that? So there's a sense of renewal. So we've had these S words, you choose it, and then we have the R words, you can choose that. Whichever one you like the most. This is kind of an exciting game. I hope to see you on the street. Tell me which word you like the best. We'll see you soon. I'm Lynn Hinderaker at WowBiz, Nebraska.